See, we want to get straight to the point, Val. You know, for the viewers, we want to know how many people you shot. Nah, let me stop. Nah, just for, but for real though, we ain't gonna go all the way there yet.
I can neither confirm.
We're not getting over there yet.
Neither confirm nor deny.
Right.
Past activities.
Huh?
We here with Els, a.k.a. I call him Els, man, but y'all all know him as Brother Lavelle, but I call him Els.
Deacon Lavelle.
Deacon Lavelle.
Fellas, what's going on, fellas?
And we want to talk about your life, how you grew up.
Boy.
We're going to start at your childhood with your parents and your household, and then we're going to move from there.
We don't have enough tape for this. But I'll see. I'll give you what I got. What do you want to know?
And for the viewers, for everybody watching this, this is, we're just trying to. This is not Lavelle today. You know what I mean? His name is Deacon Lavelle. You know what I mean? So, whoever's watching this, he's definitely a changed man. His name is Deacon Lavelle. So, when we get into this, don't get too, flabbergasted because
caught up.
Yeah, don't get too caught up because it's Deacon Lavelle now. We're gonna get down to dirty. We want to know the L. So you definitely was born and raised in the Bronx.
Born and raised in the Bronx.
So tell me some of the struggles that you had as a youth, growing up in the South Bronx.
There was a few things. Things were a little different, but there was just for me, the struggle was a lot personal in terms of family issues first, because a lot of my uncles, a lot of my cousins died off. Like when I was young, it was almost like every year I was seeing 2 and 3 people die. My family, my uncles, my mother's brothers. I was in and out relationship with my dad. But a lot of my cousins, like, you got those cousins you grew up with, same age, and those are your cousins, you go spend the weekend at their house, they come spend the weekend with yours. Yeah. I had most of them that died off from one reason or another coming up, and so experiencing death like that at an early age, I didn't really care much about my life. I was just doing what I felt I wanted to do. I didn't think much about the importance of life. Mom's is working, keeping bread on the table. As a matter of fact, she took in a couple of her sister's kids. So I had a couple of cousins that I call my brother and sister that my mom's raised. They were looking out for me. But we had some issues because mom's worked. You go to school, you come home, you're in the big park, what they used to call. Right? So you go to the big park and all the kids are like, what are you doing here? Get out of here. You ain't supposed to be in the big park. They chase you out of there. That was kind of my introduction to the projects. We got burnt out from over here where my mother and father was, and when they separated, I don't remember when they separated what happened. My mom's told me about the story. I was with my mother and her and my father. We were somewhere, and the lady that my dad was messing with, she was there. My mom's just like, I pointed out. I was like, there she go, mommy. That's the girl that's in mommy's car. That's the girl that's in daddy's car. That be the woman in daddy's car. My mom said she never forget. I'm the one that pointed her out to her. But I don't remember any of that, from being a kid. But that's my mom's telling me the story. But from then, I just remember us moving uptown, moving from place to place because we got burnt out from down the block. I want to say it's Union, but it's not. We got burnt out from there, and I remember my mother moving us into a few of her friends' house. So we went stayed with somebody for a couple of years here, stayed with somebody a couple of months there. We went 860 Columbus Avenue, which is Frederick Douglass houses on 110th Street in Columbus. I went down to PS 145 there. From there, I ran into some guys that was playing Russian roulette. I experienced that at a young age. I was in elementary school, and they had you had a lot of burnt out buildings back then. So they used to challenge you to jump from the roof of one building to the next, right? Or either jump in the broken window. and they would jump and roll on the mattress and run through the abandoned building, go down, and all kind of stuff like that.
So let me ask you this. So what led you to the streets? Because it sounds like you did have a decent upbringing as far as like a mom's and a father in the household.
No, my dad wasn't there. I don't. My dad. No. I don't remember my dad being there.
Okay.
I remember the story my mom was telling me about. I'm the one that told her he was cheating.
Okay.
I don't remember that. That's her side of the story. She told me that. I'm the one that told her.
Okay, so it wasn't stable.
But I wasn't there. It was stable because of my mom's was just working, trying to keep bread on the table. And she was rough with the boys, with her nephews, whatever, in terms of making sure, you got to take the garbage out, you got to do this, you got to keep your room clean. She didn't let us slide with anything. But whenever she was working and she wasn't there.
So what age kind of like what age you consider like get off the porch? Because, in our urban communities, we say what age you got off the porch. So
what does that mean? What age did I just start doing my own thing?
Yeah, like doing your own thing, like in the street, when you was like just ripping and running in the street.
What age was that? That you couldn't tell L nothing.
I have two stages, I think.
Okay.
One was when we moved up to the projects after my dad died. So my dad died right when I got into high school, from complications of diabetes. And after he died, because I was mad at him. Like I left our relationship where I was kind of mad at my dad. Now it's okay, it's all right, don't worry. So he was supposed to come to my graduation. My dad used to own this grocery store right over here, right by this BP across the street. When it was only one grocery store, and he was the superintendent right over here on Rogers Place.
Okay.
That red building on the corner. My dad used to be the superintendent there. He used to raise Dobermans in that basement.
Okay.
And I was I was graduating from junior high school. I used to cut the last 3 months of school because I knew I was graduating. My grades I was doing okay, but I was cutting. I was coming over here and getting the keys to go open the store. I would knock on the door, yo, Pop. He would throw me the keys, go open the store. And I was 13. I was just coming out of junior high school and getting ready to go into high school, 13, 14. And we had a good relationship. We were starting to develop that father-son bond. You know what I mean? And he was like, yeah, I'm coming to your graduation in June. When you graduate, I graduated from Michelangelo, 131.
Okay.
My uncle used to live on Theriot Avenue. My mom's brother, so we used his address to get me into schools. Back then, you couldn't just go to any school. You had to live in the zip code. In the zone. In the zone in order to get in that school.
Right.
And so my mom's coming from Harlem, Columbus Avenue on 10th Street in Amsterdam. And we got up to the Bronx. One of her friends lived across the street from Yankee Stadium, so we stayed there for a while. And that's when I really kind of got my first hustle, my first job. It was this Italian guy that used to sell souvenirs, and they had the push carts, but they would sell souvenirs. So one of the guys I went to Michelangelo with, his brother used to sell souvenirs over there. So he's like, "Come on, we're going to Yankee Stadium, make some money." And I was like, "I live right over there, So we go over there. He introduced me to walking around saying, "Get your souvenirs, got your souvenirs here." And I was a young kid, but I was 13, just coming out of junior high, and that was my first hustle. Because the Italian guy was too old to walk around. And so I was like, I'll help you. I live right up the block. And so he would give me like a baseball or something, or a mitt, and be like, sell it and bring me back the money. And then I'd walk around the stadium and come back, yo. And so he started giving me $20 a week back in 78, 79 for the kid at 13. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, man.
I was taking it upstairs, and I was like, yo, Mom, I'm rolling the house. And she's like, yo, where you get that money from? I told you don't bring no money and no sneakers in this house if you ain't even old enough to work. Mom's is like, so I started hiding stuff from her. But that was kind of my first hustle. And then between that and graduating that summer, I was doing that over the summer. But before that, my dad was supposed to come to my graduation, and he didn't come in June. So my dad, had huge family. Like my grandparents had 22 kids on my father's side from North Carolina.
Wow. Okay.
My dad had 14 brothers and 8 sisters. And they used to travel up and down and, singing the gospel. They used to sing in a couple of gospel groups and all that other kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
So my dad didn't come to my graduation. He used to call a house that summer. He used to tell my mom, let me speak to Lavelle. And she'd be like, he don't want to talk to you. I was like, I don't want to talk to him. I was pissed that he didn't come to my graduation.
Okay.
And I thought it was because of his wife, who he was with, my brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. I thought it was because of her. I was like, she didn't let you come to my graduation. I'm coming to open the store every day and all this stuff. And he didn't come. So he wanted to talk to me. He used to call the house. My mother was like, Lavelle, your father's on the phone. I was like, tell him I don't want to talk to him. I was like, tell him I don't want to talk to him, And then I could hear him telling him, put the boy on the phone. Right? And my mom was like, yo, John, he don't want to talk to you, One thing about my mom, she loved my father. She really loved him. Like, she never disrespected him to me. She never talked down on my father to me. She never said your father wasn't this, your father. She never did that. But I was like, nah, I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to talk to him. And then one day, he came by the house. He picked me up. He got me. And I'm sitting in the car like, I don't want to even be with this dude right now. I'm upset. We're going down to Philadelphia to see his sister and see my cousins and them. And I'm all whatever. Then I started hustling at Yankee Stadium during that summer. I got into Truman High School in the fall. My dad died in February from diabetes.
Oh, wow.
So as a maintenance guy, he didn't really have insurance, but he had cut his toe, and he was diabetic. So, of course, it went gangrene, but he's working. And one day he just passed out. He was in the hospital. And I went and saw him while he was in the hospital, but I didn't think, I'm a kid, I'm 13, 14, I'm just come-go-lucky. I didn't, and then he died in February. When he died in February, that's when everything just kind of went south for me.
So that's around 13, 14.
Just my first year in high school. I was going into high school, yeah.
So now, father passed away. Sorry to hear about that. That was crazy.
Yeah.
So now, like, walk me through now. So now you're about 17, 18 now. So now, how you looking at society? How you looking at the streets? Like, what's your?
I'm trying to get money.
Oh.
So
okay.
you
off the porch
South
now.
Bronx. Yeah, we off the porch.
17, 18.
Oh yeah, we off the porch.
Right. Okay.
That's just it. Yeah, we off the porch. Yeah. After my dad died, I started getting in more trouble with school. I just wasn't, actually they sent me to therapy because the teacher, I wasn't talking. I was like sitting in class. I had stopped talking. The teacher was like, "Don't your parents teach you any respect?" I threw the chair at the teacher, so I got suspended. So I had to go to therapy for that. You know what I'm saying? And it was kind of rooted. When I look back, hindsight's 2020. When I look back now, I was like, man, I had to be connected to my dad. That anger that was there. Off the porch, 16, 17. I was cutting school left and right. My mom's was working. I had the crib during the day. Having girls come over, smoking and drinking and doing my thing. Until my mom's caught me one day. She called the house accidentally. She said she was trying to call her sister. And she wound up calling the house. And one of the girls picked up the phone. And then I was like, yo, hang the phone. She's like, the lady on the phone said, let me speak to Lavelle. So she was like, I was like, hang the phone up. So she hung the phone up. And then after that, the phone kept ringing constantly. So I knew it was my mom's calling me from work. She was calling because she knew I was in the house. And then I waited till maybe about 4 o'clock and answered the phone. I was like, hey, she's like, no, you ain't go to school today. I done called the school. You in the house. You got these chicks in here. Come answer my phone. Like, come on, I'm going to whoop you.
Oh, Lord.
That's what boss said. And so I didn't wait. When she came home, I packed my bags and left. I ran away to my aunt's house, who lived on 183rd and T-Bot.
Oh, wow.
And my aunt had just moved back to New York. She had a turret situation, but she had to leave New York for about 7 years. And then she came back. And so when she came back, they moved over there on T-Bot Avenue. So I packed my stuff and went over there. Because I was like, you're not going to be beating on me. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to sit here and let you beat on me. You know what I mean? Like, them days are gone.
You got a little older now.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Right.
You know, I'm just gonna leave because I'm not gonna be tussling with you and doing all that. So I ran away for about 3 weeks, and then I saw her. I think I saw my mom's. I was hanging uptown in the projects. With some of my fellas, and she saw me. She's like, "Lavelle, come here," and I was like, "That's my mom's. Let me go see what she want." Right, so I go over there to see her. She got these bags, so I like, let me get those bags. I'm gonna carry your bags upstairs for you, you know. And we going in the building. As soon as you get in the building, she said, "You think you grown, huh? You get on in here. I got something for you." As soon as she turned around and put the key in the door, I dropped the bags and went down the back staircase. I was like, I'm not doing no more beatings. Them days are over. And I went back to my aunt's house for about another 3 weeks. Like, I was at that age where you're not gonna just be beating on me. Them days are gone, man.
So let me just reach into so where was your because I feel like all of us, I feel like everybody got a support system in Christ. So who was like, and around that time, was your mom's, was she praying for you? Like, was she in the church? Who was, where's, because I don't want to, you know.
It's a lot. I'm giving you chopping bits based on what you're asking me, but there's, so my mom's was raised here in Thessalonia.
Okay. Let's just thank you.
Her father was a deacon here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But all of her brothers were in the street. I got Golden Glove. I got a couple that got killed from robbing a liquor store.
Okay.
Her brothers were in the street.
Okay, so your mother had a strong belief
So my
system.
mother had a strong belief system. She was here from the church. When growing up, I had never seen her go to church.
Okay.
So she wasn't going to the church. She would make us go on days like Easter and stuff like that. She would like, y'all going to church? And when she taught us to ride the train, I remember coming up. She put me on the train station. She put me on the train. I think it was at 149th, or was it? It might have been Simpson Street. So she dropped me off on the train. She's like, "Get off at this stop." She said, "Just look out the window and get off this stop." I think I was about 11 or 12. And she put me on the train. And she said, "Get off at this stop." She said, "I'm going to show you how to ride the train." And she put me on the train, and I rode the train, and I got off. When I got off, she was there. She had drove a car and parked at that train station. So when I got there, when I came out, she was there. Okay. And she was like, she got a map. She was showing me how you do the train and all that kind of stuff. So my mom was really about, she wanted you to know as a man, she's like, you're going to be prepared to live out here. Your father's not around. I'm going to prepare you to do some stuff.
Street smart.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I thank moms for that, because from that point on, I was able to navigate the train whenever I wanted to go somewhere, go downtown, see the lights, or you go to 42nd Street. They used to have the prostitutes walking the street down there. I wanted to go down there one night. You get on the train to go down there, catch a double feature, karate picture, or whatever they were showing in the movie theaters, and walk the streets and be looking at the lights and looking at the women. You know, that was 14, 15. You know, I was dipping in and out doing my little thing.
So let's speed it up now. So give me who was the most negative person at that age in your lifetime that you could say that you could like I remember this dude, like, you know, who's a negative person in your lifestyle at that point in time? 18, 19, almost 20 now. You out the house now. And where's he at today? Or she, you know?
I don't know, because it was a little different. So coming up in the projects, the guys that was hustling in the big part, they didn't let you stay in there when it got dark.
Okay.
So it was kind of more, the projects was more like a community oriented type thing. Like you couldn't ride your bicycle through the projects because the police they had police officers, they had police precincts in the projects.
Housing police.
In housing projects.
Yeah.
And if you rode your bicycle through the projects, they would pull you over and take the bike, and your moms had to go down there with the lease or with the rent receipt and proving that, you know, you lived in the projects to get the bike back, and then they would put a fine on the rent bill.
Oh, wow.
You couldn't walk in the grass. I mean, it was totally different. It's whole community oriented.
Okay.
So the guys that was in the park that was hustling,
right.
When guys my age, they saw us in the park, they was like, "Get out of the big park. It's nighttime. Y'all don't belong in here." It was a game for us.
Okay.
My age was like, you can't catch me. You old. We used to talk smack.
Okay.
And they used to play low, and then they would be setting up, and then they would catch you and give you lumps if they caught you in the park after dark.
Okay.
They were in there having sex, hustling, selling, and doing all this stuff, but they didn't want us younger cats seeing none of that.
That's right.
Right? They was like, you guys got to get out the big part. Y'all can't be in here at night.
And I'm glad that you stated that too, because I feel like our era is a little different. You know, our era is like, you know, get a young kid to pack. You know what I mean? I feel like your era was more or less like, yo, tuck that, put that away. Miss Sally's coming through.
All of that.
You know what I
Yeah, it
mean?
was more
Yeah, that's
respect.
exactly.
Yeah, I feel
that's
like
exactly
it was
how it
more-
was.
It's like respect for
Them,
the
them
younger
cats
guys.
did not want the younger guys seeing what they were doing.
right.
Now they'd send you to the store and say, "Yo, go pick me up a bag of brownies." Right. So there was these little brown envelopes they used to sell tray bags and nickel bags of weed out of. It wasn't the plastic stuff they got out there. Now it was these little brown bags you can even see. They would fold it over for like $3. You would get 2 joints out of that thing.
Okay.
And so they would send you to the store. You go up to the store and get me a pack of brown. You get like 50 little brown packs. And then they throw you like $2. Go get yourself a pizza. Go get your icy or whatever. They was looking out for you for just being a runner, kind of like running to the store for them, you know, picking up whatever they needed and bringing it back to the park and whatever. And they would hit you off with a couple of dollars. You know, at that age, I was definitely into money. Like, I knew I experienced money from the hustle at Yankee Stadium, and I was like, nah, I like to have my own money. You know what I mean? Like, I knew that, you know, so that's kind of, it was introduced to me by running to the store for them and doing stuff like that. You know, and then me and my boys, we would go buy weed and smoke just because it was a thing to do. You smelt it in the park during the day, you playing basketball, whatever it is. But at night, you know, we would have to do it in the basement of the project building. Or off in the corner somewhere. You couldn't openly just come out and smoke as a young kid. Someone would be like, I know your parent, I'm telling your mother. It was more community oriented. But we had our thing.
And I'm glad that that was a good question I asked you, because I feel like, you know, in our era again, you know what I mean, we got more influence, you know what I mean? Like, you know, the music for us is influencing like every day, everything that, you know, these kids coming, you know, counting with is influencing nowadays. And that's, you know, you didn't really have too much of a negative. You know, it was negative, but of course, but it's like for the youth now, I feel like they don't care. You know, we don't care about, you know, there's no respect no more.
Yeah, it's.
But I got another question. So you what was your drug of choice at this time?
Weed. I
Smoking weed.
I
This is 1920.
1920. Got jokes. Nah, man. Let's see. This was 78, 79.
No, not 9. I said
Like your age.
1920. 1920.
Like
You talking about
age,
said
age.
1920. The age, like
Age.
either 19 or 20.
Yeah. I'm like 1920. He got jokes.
I ain't gonna do you like that. You my man.
No. So,
do you like that.
1920.
What year?
Moms was working. I still
Okay.
wasn't. I wasn't listening. I was still trying to finish high school because I never actually finished high school. I was so busy running the street. Then, you know, like I said, my cousin started passing away. So one of my cousins that had moved to Arizona and came back. Me and him had started hooking up again. He died from an asthma attack.
Wow. R.I.P.
To that, another cousin that got locked up came home, got shot in the throat. He was robbing the spot. He got killed. And another cousin. That
Wait.
All these are brothers. Like I'm giving you going up to this 20.
Okay, good.
Right. So
good.
I'm losing my cousins that are dying.
18, 19, 20? Wow,
Yeah,
bro.
they're one of my cousins who my mom's took in when her sister had to leave New York. Name was Dow. And you know, living with us. My mom's with us. My mom's always look out for them just like they were hers, you know. But he was like my brother. When I ever got into a beef or whatever, he would always run up and be there. Daryl was the guy in the family. He got bit by a dog. He bit the dog back. Wow. That was Daryl. Daryl didn't take no nonsense from nobody.
Okay.
That's just who he was. And so he Daryl passed away. Right before Daryl was it Wally first? Wally passed away first. That was I was in my junior year in high school.
How Wally passed away?
He had an asthma attack.
Okay.
So he had asthma when they moved away. When he was in Arizona, you know, the air was good for him. But when he was in New York, he had an asthma attack. He had bad asthma.
Wow.
So when they came back to New York, he got an asthma attack one day. He called me in the morning. He's like, yo, man, I'm going to stop by Vicky's house and take up this respirator, and then I'll see you in school. and he never made it to school. And so after school was over, I was like, "Yo, what's going on? Wally didn't come to class today. He didn't." I said, his name was Walter. We called him Wally.
Okay.
His name was Floyd Walter.
Okay.
We called him Wally. And I was like, let me go over to 183rd and go over to my cousin and see how he's doing, see what's going on. I get over there, my aunt and them all in the house, and they crying. He's like, "Yo, he didn't make it." "What do you mean he didn't make it? What are you talking about?" "He had an asthma attack and he didn't make it."
Wow.
I was like, "What?" Like, he had just got back, just got into high school. We got into the same high school. He was 5 months apart in birth. Like that was my cousin. That was the one that, we were doing a lot of stuff together. We did a lot of other stuff together too, and so he died, and then after that, Darryl died, and so and then my cousin Ricky, who was locked up, he came home and he died. All three of them were brothers.
Wow.
So those that are my cousins that I was hanging out with,
Wow.
they were gone. In terms of male cousins, I had a couple of other ones, but we weren't. They were distant. Like my cousin Kenny, who y'all might know was here before, but at Thessalonia, he'll pass to talk about him sometimes. Like my cousin Kenny, my cousin Quentin, who was a lot younger than me. That's my Uncle Jimmy's baby boy. All right, so, but they were younger than me, and my cousin Saheem, they were younger than me. So I didn't really hang out with them or know them like that. I knew them like family, and I see them. That's my cousins, but they were still quite younger than me. They wasn't doing what I was doing. They wasn't, like even at the age of 14 and 15, they were like 8 and 9. You're not hanging out with you. I'm doing over here trying to get high, do my thing, make some money. So out of the house at 20, going back and forth, just trying to pretend like I was finishing school, but at that point I probably was a menace. I was in Truman High School, going in and out there, got to the point where you start robbing people, you start trying to get over, you start trying to take advantage of people, because I've been there. Now I'm a super senior, what they used to call us. Right? I'm supposed to be out of high school, and I'm a menace now. I'm just showing up in high school, taking advantage of people. Whenever I see, taking advantage of guys leave something, I'm slipping it out of their pocket, going into their book bag, watching them get into a fight. You stand around and you watch the agitator fight over there, and you just go over there and take their bags and just walk off, and I'm doing stuff like that. And then from there I got into hustling, weed and then coke. Got into the coke game. Yeah.
I have a question.
It's crazy.
So as far as gangs or crews or cliques, were you active in any type of organization at that time of your your high school time, or it was just more like you was just a hustler? You had your little your family. How did that go?
They had a bunch of guys in the projects at some point. They was calling the Cool Out Crew.
Okay.
This is before 20. And started seeing them doing their little hustle tray bags here, a little bit of weed here and there. But it was really about rap.
Yeah. Okay.
So guys were into rapping.
Okay.
And then rapping, when it started really taking off, you would plug up into a street pole, plug up into a light pole. They would pop the little box on the side, plug it up so you can get juice. Set up the turntables in the handball courts when it was dark out. And guys would just be in there and be jamming. It would just be a jamming thing. The Cool Out Crew, they had their little bags. They played basketball, part of this thing called the Orange Crush. They had this team called the Orange Crush, and it used to be Eastchester versus Eden Wall versus Boston Road versus the Valley. You know what I mean? It was, I tell you what's crazy, because I went to Truman in the Valley, so I knew a lot of those Valley guys. So whenever we had beef with the Valleys, those guys would always run up on me and be like, "Yo, what's up, man? Yo, what's up, yo? They like, yo, what's up, Chauncey?" They couldn't pronounce my name. They couldn't remember Lavelle, so I had a couple of different names. They was like, Chauncey, Chubb, Lavelle, yo, what's up? Like they couldn't remember Lavelle. And whenever we had an issue, because you used to go to different communities, you go to the Valley or you go to Boston Road, and you go to play basketball. You go over there and challenge whoever that, the kids that was on the courts. And then they would come up to your projects and challenge you too. you know. But it was really about competing like on that level. It really wasn't the gangs that I knew, that I saw. You had gangs like, I remember you had the Savage Skulls, right? You had the Black Spades out here.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Savage Skulls. I was using Mullally Park swimming pool. I had a pair of black Pro Cats.
What age was this?
Oh man, I can't put a number on it hard. But I remember the guy came over there and threw me in the pool. I was over there. I was hanging out. Matter of fact, my aunt and them were living on Woody Crest. On the backside of Yankee Stadium up that hill. My aunt and them was living on Woody Crest over there. And you know that park across, you come down, there used to be a public swimming pool there. Called Savage Skulls used to run out that whole area. And I remember one of them like threw me in the pool and took my sneakers, man. Man. Threw me in the pool. I couldn't swim, bro.
Wow.
Threw me in the pool and took my sneakers, yo. You know, man. So. But it was really still community oriented. Everything was still. It wasn't. You know, those gangs were like motor gangs like that. It wasn't like now you see. You know, Red Crips and all that. That stuff didn't come around till I was grown. Okay. It was all about, they would look out for the young black kids because you still was coming right out 78, 79, 77, 78, 79. We were still coming out of, you know, civil rights, and people was, you know, black people were still trying to work it and make it and, you know, and get their careers and bring money and put bread on the table. So it was definitely a different era. You know, the gangs I saw were those kind of gangs. It wasn't like us, you know, forming our own gang. We had crews. Right. So when you start rapping, you had to be part of a crew like that. If you was going somewhere, you went with a crew of guys. They used to hang out at this club down on Gun Hill Road. It's called the T Connection. That's where they used to do rap. You know something about the T Connection?
My family know about the T Connection.
Yeah. There was this place on Gun Hill Road called the T Connection. Then they had the Stardust in the Bronx. And, you know, you would go there and rap and, you know, hear guys battle each other and stuff like that. But it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like it is now. It was totally different. I feel like I almost like see the change of it all, you know, but it was totally different. So you could be a young kid and go see a rap battle or whatever, the Cold Crush 4, the Funky 4+1, DJ Barron and Breakout, and, you know, Treacherous 3. You go see these guys.
Wow, yeah.
And it wasn't no big thing. They come to the park and they plug up and they be out there rapping. You be out there just got your old English in your hand. You know, you got your old English 800 and you just out there. But it wasn't like, wasn't as dangerous, at least in our mind. Right. The way it is now. And I can imagine even this generation, when they out there doing their thing, they don't see the danger in it. You know, because that's kind of like all they know. Right. Back then when rap was coming out, they weren't talking about guns and killing. They was talking about hot butter on, the pop, dee pop, the pop, corn. You know, or talking about butter on, hot butter on, a breakfast toast. To wrap it up, baby, brother. You know, it wasn't about, you know, I'm gonna take your life and that. There was gangster rap and like challenging, you know, like from one of the first gangster raps I saw was it was the Cold Crush 4 versus the Fantastic Five. And the Cold Crush 4, they would make tapes and sell tapes on the street, but these guys were bad because they was harmonizing. They was the first rap group that was harmonizing. You know, and doing stuff, and people's like, yo, that's kind of hot. They had a little hook to it, but the Fantastic Five, you know, they had some good rhymes, but these guys would show up to the park with suits on. They would all be uniform, like they would all come with like a Adidas suit. You know, and they would all have the uniform on, and guys would be like, yo, these guys, who are these guys? You know, we the Fantastic Five, we a crew from here, we the crew from there. So everything was about a crew. It wasn't really about gangs, it was about a crew, you know, to be part of a crew. And so that was they put $1,000 on the table, and these guys came out the Cold Crush. They came out with that Gigantor rhythm. You guys know Gigantor? So it was a cartoon called Gigantor, right? It was this big robot. Whenever there was trouble, you know, the little kid would call Gigantor to help him, and the song was like, yo, Gigantor. He would call him, yo, look it up. In this song, we go, Gigantor, bigger than big, stronger than strong. So the Cold Crush came out with that rhythm. They was like the Cold Crush guys was like, you know, they were the hot thing at the moment, you know, in the street. And the Fantastic Five was rapping in, you know, 116th Street in Harlem World, and they were rapping at the T Connection and doing stuff. So they had some street creds, but they were more refined rappers. So they was like, you ain't no real rappers, and you know, had that. So they battled it out in the park one day for $1,000 on the DJ stand. You know, you should look those names up. You would be like, okay, because this is where rap, like the foundation of where it started growing. Long before they got on, rap wasn't on a radio station.
It wasn't.
It was not on a radio station. It was not.
So Lavelle, so let's so what about you involved yourself in the drugs?
Yeah, man.
Not only using them, but you were selling them.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that like? Tell me a little bit about that.
So
walk us through that. And what age was that?
I was going back and forth at my mom's house.
Okay.
Staying there, leaving. We get into arguing, I'm out. At some point, I was hustling. She knew I was hustling. Moms knew I was hustling. I was working like part-time overnight, doing security. So back in Hunts Point, they used to have these freezer trucks that they used to ask you to watch. You know, inside the trucks, they have frozen food and goods and stuff like that. So I was doing that part-time, but I was at night, overnight. But during the day, I was hustling weed. And it got to a point where I got introduced to some guy named Putty. And, you know, Putty and his family had a lot of money, but Putty, you know, this guy was into coke. And he turned me on to coke. I was hanging out with him, and he would always be like, put the white lines on the table. I was like, you know what? So one day I tried it. That was all she wrote. So
I think coke back in the days, I feel like it was like more or less a social drug. You see, like our era, we look at, you know, somebody pulling out a line or something, we look at them like, wow, like we look at them like, you crazy. I feel like your era, like coke was a thing. You know, it was cool. It was a party drug.
It was right, because you had, in our era, you had the disco era.
Mm-hmm.
So people would go to the club and you dancing, and you would do a line to stay up and keep dancing on the floor and to stay hype, because coke, it was a hype drug. Keep you hype, keep you up, you know, keep you excited. So you in the club, it keep you up all night. You be in the club all night dancing at the disco or dancing whatever. You know, at the end of the night, you want to take somebody home. You coked up now. You good. You know, that was kind of. And then, you know, after I got turned on to that with Putty, I started, because he's always have a package on him.
Mm-hmm. So what was this? So in that era, we did have freebasing. Like, what was that era? Because that's your era.
It turned from freebasing to crack, as a matter of fact.
Wow. So did you transition?
I did all that.
I did all that.
Okay. I did all that.
How did you support that at that time? Coke was a rich man's drug.
If you went and bought a package, so you had what they had called a triple beam scale.
Mm-hmm. I know what that is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's how you used to weigh it out. So you would go down to Washington Heights and pick up a package, get an 8-ball, get them $200-$300. Man, you come home and weigh it up, and you weigh out your package. Right? You would slice it with some baking soda or whatever you put in there. You cut it up. Soda. Yeah.
It's called whip it.
You cut it up, right? And you take just enough to get your money back, and all the rest was yours.
Mm. So 8-ball, for the record, 8-ball is cocaine. It's 3.5 grams. You consider it 8-ball. It was more than that's what it is now. Right.
But back then, it was more than that. You go in there and come out of there with 5 or 6 grams for $100, easy. Wow. You have a little plastic bag, little ball. That's why they got the 8-ball. You have a little plastic bag. You go into the spot with $100. You're coming out of there with $600 worth of profit. So if you bag up your 100 or 200, you made $100 profit off of that. If you sniff 400 or you spend 400 pulling your clientele, you know what I mean? You'd be like, okay, I'm gonna put you on. got my habit, got my little, But as long as I kept my 200, I can always re-up and have 100 over the top.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I took that 200 back and re-up. Now I'm walking out of there with like $800-900 worth of product that I can just cut up and do what I need to do and make more money. And that's kind of what that was. But it was casual because I was working overnight.
Okay.
But it went from being casual to me sniffing every day.
Mm-hmm.
It went from me just thinking about this is a good way to make extra money and have money.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, when I met my wife, I was laced in terms of having money. I had money. Had a couple of people that I knew through my friends that I was like, yo, I'm working at night, man. It's a package, man. Keep one for yourself, man. Whatever you sell, just bring me back the money in the morning. I had a couple of people, that I just knew that were friends that would do that. You know what I mean? Like they knew people that was buying coke, and they was like, "Yo, man, I was looking for you." I was like, "I work at night." He's like, "Yo, man, you should have." So I was like, "You know what? Here's 3 little things, aluminum foil. You kept it in aluminum foil. Kept it in aluminum foil, folded over. Man, take these 3. You can take one for yourself, man. Whatever the other 2 you sell, just bring me back. I'll see you in the morning or whenever I see you." And so then one of my guys started buying from me regularly, and that's and then we started hanging out. And so now we hanging out. He's buying a package. I'm doing a package. You buy a package. I'm doing a package.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, and before I know it, I just kind of put myself out of business. Because I started liking to get high more than anything else. And just some other things happened too. I met my wife. We started taking off.
We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
Don't skip it. So you were saying that you were basically getting high off your own supply, basically.
Pretty much.
And so you in the process you went out of business, meaning you didn't have no more work.
Nah, because anything I started buying, it was for me. It was my personal use.
Okay.
It wasn't for me trying to make money anymore. I was still working still doing the security thing at night. Like I said, I met my wife, and at that point, she was over here in the city. She's from Newark, but she was over here, and then she started working too. So I wasn't really hustling. Whatever I was doing, it was my own personal.
And were you still using when you met your wife, or you was on the point of like getting clean?
No, man. I was using for sure.
Okay.
I was using for sure when I met Sheila. As a matter of fact, I had just broke up with this girl, this young girl who was young tender thing they call them. She was young and tender. And she was still innocent. So I was her first, and I was with her for a while, but I had stopped. She was like, she knew. She said, "Nah, you out there, you a street hustler. You smoke cigarettes. You're hanging out with all these." She said, "I ain't giving up nothing, and you doing all this." I said, "All right, I'm gonna stop. But if I stop for you, you're gonna have to drop those drawers, yo. Like that's like if I stop hanging out, you gonna give me some of that, like for real." And so it happened. Comes through the years, so she wound up having 3 abortions from me. I was 18, she was 16. She was still young. But she was beautiful, man. She was, I was hooked. And then as you grow older and you grow out of each other, her sister was also a good looker, but she was bringing other guys around. And then I saw that she had took her younger sister out with some guy to a club, and I was like, "Oh, really? Okay, you cut off. I'm done with you." But whenever she wanted to get off, she would call me. She lived in the next building. She would be like, "Yo, you want to come over and see me?" So that's how the first time we broke up after we had the first abortion, her mother knew, my mom's knew. And they're like, "You're both too young to be having kids," and all this other kind of stuff. So I'm like, all right. The other 2, but neither of our parents knew. We knew. But we were kind of at the broken up stage, but we were still dipping and dabbing. And I was like, I ain't gonna never stop doing me for no girl. Never. I ain't never doing that again. And so then I just went back out to the street and started doing me and getting wild and until that played itself out.
So tell me some hardships in the streets. Like, tell me some things that you really had to like Some hard stuff. Get down and dirty with it too. Some hard stuff that you've seen out there in the streets.
All right. All right. So, my mom's kicked me out because my cousin called me from jail, and I accepted the phone call. And she was like, "Don't be accepting no phone calls from no prison or whatever like that. Collect call." But I happened at that point to be paying the lion's share of the rent. And when she told me, I was like, "What are you talking about? I give you the money for it." She said, "But I told you not to do it. I don't care. I'm paying the lion's share of the rent around here. Nigga, get out. Get out." Right? And at that point, I think I was like 22, 23. I had me and Sheila, it was 23, 24. I think me and Sheila had snuck off and got married. I told my moms I was going to marry this girl because this is the hook. I was working. This is just when the coke became a real problem. I was working overnight at the security joint. I just got paid. It was Sheila's birthday. You talking about soldier? You told me you guys were like, "Yo, man, Sheila's a soldier." Yeah, I'm gonna bring y'all in on this soldier shit, right? Soldier ship. I didn't say. Yeah, let's get it clear, right?
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Y'all looking like, you know.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, we can go there. We can go there. We trying to keep this, you know, PG, right? So, I had worked that night, got paid. I snipped up all my product that night. Right, I went there. Matter of fact, right over here on Hunts Point, in the same building I lived in some of those other buildings, you can go down to the basement. There are crack houses in there. You can buy your package and go sit down on a mattress or go sit down in the corner and get beamed up. And I spent up my whole check that night getting beamed up. I think I had maybe enough for a pack of cigarettes and some tokens, because we used to have tokens, not Metro cards. And so I go home, and I was supposed to take her out. It was her birthday. And I was like, I told her, I'm going to take you out on the town. Because she was used to that. From my hustle side, I would go out to Jersey and meet her and see her, spend money, bring her back to the city, take her to City Island, cab it up. I was spending money because I had hustle money.
And you was working.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that morning I came home and I'm like, yo, I spent all my money. I spent my whole check. You know, I'm going to tell this girl I can't take her out. So I'm in the bed and I'm laying there and I'm not asleep. I'm trying to pretend I'm still high. I'm high up my mind. I'm laying in the bed. I'm trying to pretend like I'm sleeping. I'm watching her get up and coming out of my room and all that kind of stuff. And so finally when I got up and I was like, look, I spent my check last night. I can't take you out. I don't have anything. Mind you, Sheila had got up and ironed our clothes, fixed me something to eat, cleaned my mom's house, her birthday. Now, I'm looking for the argument. I'm like, this black girl's about to flip out on me, right? I'm looking for her to say, you ain't no good and all this and all that. She didn't say none of it.
Wow.
She took the clothes, she put them back in the closet. She said, you going to eat? I was like, nah, I'm not really hungry. I'm looking for the argument. I was like, nah, I'm not really hungry. But she didn't argue or fuss or none of that. And then when I finally did get up, I went to sleep. And then when I finally did wake up, right, she was like, look, I'm going to get ready to go home. She lived in Newark. I didn't have a car, so she was taking public transportation. And I was like, no, don't stay. Just hang with me. She said, no, I'm going home. Now, I knew that was like, I was like, okay, she out. And I was like, nah, stay with me. She's like, nah, I'm going home. I'm going with my girlfriends to the club. It's my birthday. And they had the Zanzibar out in Newark. They had the Zanzibar club out there, which was a lot of high tech stuff, right? So she left. She got on the train, and then after I came to my senses, I got up and got dressed and followed. So I went on the next bus. I took the train down to Port Authority, caught the next 27 bus all the way out to Newark. When I got there, she had her heels on. She was dressed. My baby was going out, and I looked at her. I said, "Yo, won't you marry me?" She was like, "Nah, you ain't serious. You just saying that because you see me going out." Yeah, I don't want you to go out. I don't want to. In my mind, I'm saying, I realized I was like, I'm about to lose a good thing because other girls would have flipped.
Right.
Yes. She didn't do none of that. And so then I got out there. She was like, nope, I'm not doing. I'm going to the club with my girls. She said, come on, I'll walk you back to the bus stop. She did that. She walked me back to the bus stop in her heels, in her skirt, in her dress. Then politely dismissed me and put me on the bus and went out with her girls that night. And I was like, yo, this girl is for me. You know, I need to get this back. like, you know, I'm out here tripping. And so, you know, I was like, you don't marry me now, I'm not asking you again. That was my catch. I was like, if you don't say yes now, we don't do it, I'm not ever asking you again. She's like, you ain't serious. So she went out. That whole process, after she had came back and my mom's wound up putting me out, right? And I told my mom that I was gonna marry this girl because I realized she was the one for me, right? And I was like, I'm not letting this get away. It was a year after that, right? So we wound up going to the Justice of the Peace, and my cousins and a few of them came, and when my moms had put me out, and we wound up living in this squatted. We squatted. My cousin Darryl, I told you about, that died, right? So that day, my cousin Darryl had died 6 months before that. My sister still had the keys to his apartment. It was on T-Bot Avenue. And so she told me, I was like, after my mom's put me out, I was like, I had a few bags, and I went over my sister's house, and I was like, look, I'm going out to Jersey. Mom's put me out. I got to go find me and this girl married. I got to go do something in Jersey. I got to go find a place for us to stay, right? Didn't have no place in New York. She's like, no, I still got the keys to Darryl's apartment. I was like, what? Boom, okay. Boom, I took the keys. Was living in my cousin Darryl's apartment. It was a rat-infested, squatted building at 2259 T-Bot. It was 183rd and 182nd and T-Bot Avenue.
So y'all staying there?
So yeah, we living there. I don't have no electricity. I had just left the overnight. I had just got a job working with the city as a messenger. So I had stopped doing the overnight job, but I was working part-time with the city at the New York City Law Department. That's where what's name is now, Corporation Counsel's Office.
Okay.
I had got a part-time job working there, and I didn't have to pay any rent because we were squatting.
No, you good.
All right, we good. Because I was squatting. We were squatting there. We didn't have we had running water in the kitchen, but you had the bird bath in the bathroom. You couldn't take the shower, and you couldn't use none of that would work because it was all clogged up and gutted out. It was dirt. It was a rat infested, squat joint. So I was living in there. I would run extension cord from my out the window to my aunt who lived downstairs. And I would run extension cord, and we would stay up there. And then eventually, I got the Con Ed turned on in my name and all that.
What was your faith at this point? Like,
I had no clue. I had no relationship with God at all.
Okay, say that. Right.
I had no relationship with God.
Okay.
At all at that point.
So y'all living in this squatters. Y'all, it's
lived there for about 3-4 years.
Your wife is actually holding it down. This is your wife at the time.
About 3 or 4 years, and we got married. She got a job around the corner at this place called Consumers. Right, there used to be a jewelry store called Consumers on Fordham Road. So she got a gig over there when I was working with the city. So we was pulling the money in our pocket, but we wasn't paying rent. Not like the only thing I was paying was Con Ed. And so living over there, the coke habit continued, but there was this guy I know who was dating this girl in this apartment building. He was dating this girl in this apartment building, but you know how it is when a guy goes to the projects or goes anywhere to see some girl that lived there to do some project that ain't getting it, or they sizing you up.
That's right.
So this dude, he went, one day he got the girl pregnant. So he's going to see the girl, right? Some of the guys he's a good kid. He was a good dude. The guys from the building harassing him, giving him business, them coming around here and threatening him. So, one day he goes and they chase him from the neighborhood. That night they had a house party. They used to do house parties. We were at a house party, and he's in there. He saw 3 of the guys come in. He left. He went and got it. He went and got a shotty. He came back. Called them guys out of the party. That guy came up out of the party. He hit him. His body just like slammed back, turned this way and slammed back against the car and hit the floor. And he ran up on him and hit him with another shot. His body came up off the ground like this, blood everywhere. Boom. Just because he was afraid. Wound up doing like 25 to life. Not really getting to have a relationship with his daughter. I don't know where that guy is right now. I don't ever know what happened to him.
Yeah. So to go back off what you said about being in a party and, you know, he came, when you said something about in the projects, how when you dealing with somebody else, another female or whatever, or vice versa, and you go to a hood and guys are there from that block, but they can't get with that girl.
Yeah.
It's still like that, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's still like that. So like seeing that, you know, and like how you said, because he did it out of fear, but like you seeing that, like, or just seeing how it played out, like how was that for you?
I was already familiar with death.
Okay.
Wasn't, to me, I was like, oh, dude, he just shot that homeboy. You saw it? Yo, he shot homeboy because he was afraid.
Wow.
Like, yo, Craig just killed that kid, man. Like, you know, he disappeared. They went on a manhunt for him and everything. They found him eventually, you know. Did 25 to life, man.
Wow.
Just because of fear. You know, and he wasn't I didn't see him as that kind of guy. You know what I mean? Because he would always come around and just be smiling. And he would never be stir up. You never see him with a bunch of people. You know, he just happened to have a girl in the hood that liked him. You know how it is. Some of the good girls in the hood, they find somebody they think is good. They're not going to date the neighborhood guys because they already see what you about in the streets, right? So but yeah, he wasn't. I never saw him as that kind of person. You until you're watching him do that and to see him run up on the guy and put two in him while he was already on the floor. I was like, man, that dude.
So
was
at this time, Lavelle, did you have a firearm? Was you toting a gun at this point in time?
Oh yeah.
You had a few guns at this point in time.
I had.
Did you have any guns in the
crib?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did.
Oh, you did.
So there was some guys that lived in the neighborhood that when we got over to T-Bop, who were, you ever see that picture, Paid in Full?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So some of them guys that lived in the neighborhood where I was at, they were robbing other drug dealers. Now, I didn't know all that they were into, but Chucky and these guys, they took a liking to me because I just moved in with my, in the neighborhood. My cousin and my aunt and them were there, so they knew them. But that's Rick's cousin. You know what I mean? And then I just kind of made a name for myself because they would see me coming and going. I was working a little something. I would sit out and hang out with them and get high and all that kind of stuff. Rah and all that stuff. I did. I had a little 22. And I was like, okay. I had a 38 and 22. And I was like, okay. I would hang out with them because we would be talking about sports. And I knew them from sports, and I knew them from hanging out. I didn't know they was robbing the jewelry shop on Fordham Road. There used to be a gold 2000 over there. I didn't know that they was robbing them. I didn't know that they were involved in robbing other drug dealers in Harlem. I didn't know any of that. But they would come to my house every now and then. We would sit in the living room. We would just sniff coke all night and hang out. When I moved from there to T-Bout, that was T-Bout. When I moved from T-Bout to Seneca Avenue in Hunts Point, them guys moved my furniture up 4 flight of stairs. After I moved out, here's where I see God. After me and Sheila moved out of that squat infested building, them guys helped me move my furniture over here. She's like, yo, we're going to break your spot in. We're going to break it in for you. We're going to sniff coke for 3 days. He's like, we just going to hang out. So I don't know if my wife going to go for all that, you know, but we can break the joint in. They raided the building. And all them guys got caught. I think maybe like 2 weeks after that. And all them guys got caught in the building. Chucky was the one who gave me the shot, who he asked me to hold a shotgun in the house for him. I'll tell you a story. As you heard me tell a story before about how Sheila woke up and I was standing over her with the gun. Right? So I'm sitting in the house sniffing coke all night. I got my Nintendo PlayStation going. I got my cigarettes laced with coke. I got my Coronas. I'm just sitting there doing me. Sheila never did coke. She was never into coke.
Amen.
So I'm sitting up and I'm high. I'm so high. I'm sweating like the mattress is wet. I'm sitting there playing the video game. Right? I'm out of my mind. I see this rat like the size of a cat run past my bedroom door. Now I could have been hallucinating for all I know. And when I saw it, again, we live in this rat-fested squatted building. I know there was rats there because you couldn't, if you took a piece of, like, there's one time my aunt took a piece of meat out the freezer. She's like, I'm going to cook, we're going to do Sunday dinner. She took frozen meat out the freezer and put it in the sink. And, you know, I think we went back and maybe about an hour later, she said, I went back and I saw this rat taking the meat out the window. Wow. And I was like, wow, okay. So she was like, you can't leave no meat out. And a couple of times we did, and it disappeared. It just disappeared. So we had to stop doing that. You couldn't leave meat out to throw out in the sink because the rats would come and they would take it. And so I saw this rat run across my door, and I'm coked out of my mind. I'm like, it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. I've been sniffing coke all day. I'm working my 8-ball. I got my own 8-ball, just me. The whole weekend. I ain't sharing with nobody, yo. Right? I'm talking about 5 and 6 grams. I'm just sitting in the house getting tore down. I saw the rat run across the door. And I saw that thing, and it petrified me. So I grabbed the shotgun that I kept on the side of the bed. And I grabbed it. And I stand up on top. Now Sheila's asleep next to me. And I stand up with a shotgun. I'm like, yo, if that thing coming in this room, I'm blasting. Never mind you, there's people living under me. If I shoot it, it's going through the floor. Right? I didn't even care. And I'm standing there, and I'm like, I'm standing in the bed, like sweating, afraid to move, just standing there. And Sheila turns over and you're going to kill me. You're killing everybody. What the hell is wrong with you? What are you doing? And I told her what happened, and she didn't go back to sleep that night. She was fearful, like maybe she thought I was trying to do something to her, but I was fearful because I saw that rat roll across my door, and I was like, if he come in here, I'm blasting him, yo. I'm not playing no games. Like I'm letting off. And so so you talk about Sheila being a soldier. She been through some stuff with me, yo.
So you standing over your wife with a shotgun, sweating.
High on
ball in one hand.
High on my mind.
High, sweating.
Yeah.
And she wakes up and looks at you like,
she's screaming.
Lord, this dude is crazy.
Yeah.
What I got myself into.
Yeah. She. So later, you hear her tell a story. She'll tell you, she's like, a couple of times. She's like, "Nah, I'm leaving you. I'm not staying. You was just doing too much." And then there was times we used to get on the train, and I would get into fights almost every day on the train. I'm getting up high in the morning. I'm going to work, going down to the corporation counsel's office. I'm making dudes get up and give her a seat on the train. I was just bugging out. I was reckless with my life. I didn't really care. And if she'd be like, when I talked to her today, she'd be like, I was afraid you was gonna get killed on that train. I wasn't. She's like, I was afraid to ride the train with you. When I talk to her about, when we talk about it now, we talk back and I talk, and she be like, yeah, I was afraid to ride the train with you because I used to stop at the Hunts Point. So the 6 train used to always be delayed or stopped because either I was in the front car fighting or arguing or they had to empty the car because the train couldn't move. And we lived on Hunts Point. I lived on Hunts Point for about, I think 14. She said, no, we lived there for 15, 16 years. I think 14, but she say 16. But, yeah, so that was coming out of that. And then one day, I think somewhere around my 34th birthday, 34th, 35th birthday, somewhere around there, I was suicidal. Like, you start hearing a lot about black on black crimes. Like, what was that about? You know, the black on black crimes and stuff. And so I started digging into, and coming up, I knew some cats who were like 5%ers from the projects. I knew some Muslims from the projects. When I started working at the Corporation Counsel's office, I met some brothers down there that were Muslim. But they, you know, they drank and everything, but they was always like, nah, you need to come hang out with the brothers. It was that kind of brotherhood thing. And I always appreciated that. They was like, nah, the brothers, let me tell you something. That's when you start getting black conscious about who you are as a black man. You know, I started falling into that. That was kind of the turnaround for me because I was suicidal. And I called my Uncle Jimmy. I was like, man, I don't even want to know why life is, man. Why all of, you know, Ricky and Wally and Dow and Richard and all of them are dead and I'm still here. I don't know even for me to even be here or whatever. You know, I'm just sitting here. My life's not going nowhere. I ain't got no education. I'm living in squatted buildings. I'm living on Hunts Point. You know, with hookers over here. You know, I'm like my whole mentality that became like really
We
dark.
at the bottom.
Yeah,
It just
became dark.
Okay, and we at the bottom. This is the bottom.
And I was still getting up in the morning, smoking weed, and going to work. I was a functioning addict, man. You know, I knew I had to get work to get money. But the money was supporting my habit. And then as I started like seeking out what is all this blackness about, all this black on black crime, and this black talking about black people don't hate each other. Why we don't hate each other? Why we hate each other? Why we like this? You know, that question went off. Like, why we like this? I remember bringing some of the lawyers from the Corporation Counsel's office. We used to hang out with them. And it's funny because I used to think, I think about it now, I know one of them had an eye for Sheila, but he was a lawyer. But he knew me coming from Hunts Point. He wasn't, because they was calling me a militant black dude. He wasn't going to try to cross me at that point. I know he wasn't. But I brought these guys to the house one night. We was sniffing coke. And they left. And it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm sitting in the living room in the dark, looking out the window with a gun in my hand, and I'm sniffing coke, and I'm just paranoid. And I realized I was almost like suicidal at that point, because I was sitting in the dark by myself. Sheila was in the back room. I had a 2-bedroom apartment. Sheila was in the room asleep. And I'm sitting up in the front, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm like, yo, if anybody move on this fire escape, I'm capping. Right? Coming from T-Bot Avenue, people would break into your apartment through the fire escape. And I learned you had to put clamps on your windowsill. You had to put clamps on lifting the window, right? You had the L brackets. You would put them on one side of the window so they couldn't lift the windowsill. Because somebody had actually reason on T-Bot Avenue, somebody had actually broke the window. I had my dresser next to the window. They broke the window and took my jewelry and all that stuff off the dresser, whatever I had there, because it was spilled all over the place. And I was like, man, you got to clamp. You got to know how to clamp your windows living next to. When you live in an apartment building with a fire escape, you got to protect, because people will come in through the fire escape.
That's right.
You're picking up trades, street trades, right? Trying to protect.
I think they got gates now that slide, correct? Or is that a safety issue now?
Yeah, I had gate. It's still an issue.
It's still okay.
Oh, they still can get in through the gates.
Okay.
Because you're not supposed to put a lock on that gate, because if there's a fire inside, you can't get out.
Got you. Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
They used to tell you that.
Yeah.
But I used to put the L brackets on the right, so if they tried to lift the window, you couldn't, because the L bracket was there.
Sorry.
But I was suicidal, man. I was functioning addict. I was only working to get high. And then, and I started getting into this blackness and started getting curious about what's black this and black that about. Again, Sheila, who likes to read, she put out this book called A Taste of Power by Elaine Brown. And she was like, you should read this. All right, so I started reading it, started finding out about Shakina Shakur, and I started finding out all the Black Panthers and all this. And I'm like, okay, that was good. So I started buying other books. Right? So now I'm kind of like riding a train trying to read these books to keep my mind from flipping on the train, because I know on the train I'm usually getting into something. So she was like, you should be reading, you should read. So I was riding the train, an hour to work, an hour home, I started reading these books. Right? And they just started intriguing me, and I was like, nah, we come from Africa. I started really doing this dig on who we were as a people. And then a lot of the books was the Illuminati 666, and they talked about, talk about the brothers that, conspiracy theory and how America came into being, how they got their money, and and all that other kind of stuff. And a lot of the books was making references. I still got some of these books. A lot of these books are making references to scripture. Mm. So one day I was on Fordham Road and I bought a Bible. And I was searching for knowledge because I was starting to discover more about who I was and what I wasn't. And I began to realize, like, you never, who knows what you have been had. Just start thinking about had your father not died. Who know what you know? I start thinking about my life. Like, I went in a whole different direction, and I found myself being empowered by finding out my blackness, who I was as a black man. So reading all these books, one day I went and bought the Bible, and I was like, I had that thing for a while before I picked it up. But I think it was on my 34th or 35th birthday. I was like, man, I'm tired of hearing this negative news. There was a lot of negative news, Reagan and all that stuff was going on in the news, and all this negative stuff about black people. I was like, man, I'm sick of hearing about all this negative stuff. I want to hear something positive. And then my aunt reminded me. She said, well, why don't you go to the church? I was like, the light went off. I was like, all right. So my birthday, I walked into the church. My uncle was singing in the choir, and he saw me come in. He started crying. And that kind of, then I started making appearances here, appearances there, trying to keep myself from just being like, I heard a positive word. I heard something positive. I saw a black man up there speaking knowledge. Right? It was Pastor Shelley Sampson.
Say that again?
The pastor here was then Pastor Shelley Sampson, okay. Reverend Maloby's father. And I heard something positive. And I said, okay. But in the meantime, I had some run-ins here. God was introducing me to the church. Because my cousin Kenny, who was here, his mother passed away, and we went to the funeral. And that's the first time I saw Reverend Maloby. And my cousin Ricky, I was telling you about, when he came home from jail, he came to the church. They went on a camping trip. I started hearing about Reverend Maloby before I even met him.
Oh, okay.
So my cousin Ricky came in, went on a camping trip, and they got rained out at this camping trip. My cousin Ricky had just did 8 years, came home. He's like, I'm going to go on this camping trip with Kenny in the church. And he took his cigarettes with him. He had his Newports. His Newports got soaking wet at the campsite. He couldn't smoke them. They got ruined. He was hiding them, and he was like, he's right. So they got soaking wet at the campsite. So when it was raining, Pastor Maloby was head of this YMO group, Young Men's Outreach, and they was doing a camping trip. And my cousin said, he was telling me, yo, it's raining out here, cats and dogs. God done opened the sky and told us to go home. What are we doing out here? Let's go home. He's telling us to go home. But now our pastor then was like, nah, we're going to stay out here and brave whatever it is. We out here in the mud. My cousin's like, yo, the tents and everything was sinking in the mud. He's like, the pastor's son. He came back and told me, I was living on T-Bot Avenue. He came back and told me, your pastor's son think he knows everything. Yeah, he was pissed off. Cigarettes are gone. I was like, yo, sit down, have a hit, man. Tell me what's going on. He said, he telling me about this camping trip. I was like, didn't work out for you, huh? I was like, yeah, man, so. There go my boo right there.
Amen. Amen.
So he told me about Pastor Malobie. Then he's like, this Pastor something, you know everything, blah 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 blah. And then he died. He's the one that got killed, got shot. Mm-hmm. He was robbing a spot for some drugs. He got shot up. And then my cousin Kenny, when his mother died. And we was at the funeral, the Young Men's Outreach showed up. Now, my cousin Kenny he was hurt. He lost his mom, so he was really hurt. He was on the floor crying. And I saw about 20 men get around him and go down on the floor and start crying with him. Pastor Malobie and the Young Men's Outreach. I'm like, yo, man, dog, get up off the floor, man. Your mom's is gone. We men, we don't do that. So I picked him up and I was like, come on, let's go outside. So I went outside. I jumped in, like, my mom's car. I was kind of driving it whenever I wanted it. I was like, put him in the car. I said, man, the woman that you know is your mother, she's gone, man. That's just a shell. She's not there. I know you loved her and everything or whatever you had, cherished the moments, but crawling on the floor and all that's not who we are as men. Black men from Africa. I'm giving them that. I'm jigging them with that, I looked up. I saw Reverend Malobie standing at the doorway of the funeral parlor, looking at me, talking to my cousin Kenny. That's my first interaction with him. And then when I first walked in, I walked into the church, like I said, on my 35th or 36th birthday, I didn't see him. I heard his father speaking. And then next thing I know, I was introduced to Teddy and some of the other men, Roy, and some of the other men. They were just coming back, and they invited me to come out to the YMO. I was like, what? I'm coming out there. I ain't got time for that nonsense. I don't know what your brother's about or whatever. I didn't know none of them, So the first meeting I came here, and I was cursing up a storm. You fucking that, you effing this, you effing that. I'm in the church, in the meeting with our now pastor and some of the other guys who had now here became deacons who wound up becoming deacons. They weren't deacons at the time. We were just men like us sitting here. And I'm at the meeting, and I'm cursing up a storm, and I'm doing all my tough guy, I'm doing my rotation, And Roy and Teddy and them, they would laugh. They was like, I said something funny? I said something funny. They was like, nah, you don't have to come in here like that, man. It's not like that, And I was like, all right, whatever, But one thing I realized is that as I started coming and God started introducing me to different people, and I started getting to know different people, a calm came about me, like this, that street, not trusting anybody and not caring about my life, because I was introduced to death and all that stuff. The calm started coming. I felt a calm in me, which made me say, like, I got to keep coming. This thing is keeping me from blowing up and acting crazy, And I still was coming every day. I was coming every Sunday and getting high. I couldn't wait to leave here and go get high. Sometimes I was coming in high from Saturday night. And then it hit me one day. I was like, man, Reverend Malobie was teaching the Sunday school class, and he used to challenge the brothers, and just him challenging me. I was like, if I'm going to be able to get into this conversation with this dude, now this time I'm reading books and I'm thinking I got some knowledge. And I'm like, if I'm ever going to be able to challenge and get into a conversation with this dude, I need to read through this Bible, and I need to be reading so I can get ready for Sunday for this. I'm gearing up for the Sunday confrontation. I'm gearing up for Sunday, like, we're going to talk. This is the same guy my cousin was telling me about.
He say know it all.
Yeah. No, we're going to talk because I'm reading.
That's right.
I done read 3 books. You know what I'm saying? I'm coming in with the blackness.
That's right.
And so I realized that if I was going to be able to navigate Sunday, I had to let go of Saturday.
Powerful.
And when I let go Saturday, all that street, the dudes I would hang out with And the dudes that would just call me, what you doing? Let's go get high. Let's do this. All right, I run downtown, pick up a package, hang out with them for a little while, and then I go home because I have my wife home. I was like, well, y'all out there playing. I got my piece at home. I ain't got to be out here. I'm the king of my castle. I can go sit in my house and get high all I want to. I ain't got to hide from mine. Y'all hiding from your girl. No. I'm going home and do mine right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
It works. Just really briefly, like you said, as I start committing to Sundays, I realized I had to let go of Saturdays. What was that process? You don't have to like be super extensive with it, but was it as simple as like I just realized that and I did it, or was it like a struggle for you? Do you recall?
It was a struggle in terms of letting go, sitting up all night Saturday getting high, or going out hanging out with my guys. It started by me saying, you know what, I'm not going out. A friend of mine that I grew up with lived in the same building in the projects uptown in Eastchester. He was part owner of the Golden Lady, the strip joint. So the guy, we would get over there on Saturday night and hang out, and I didn't have to pay to go in because I knew the owner. I knew Jim Jack and all of them. I knew them guys, man. Right? And y'all probably know some of them too. Now I ain't gonna throw no names out there, but I knew them guys that was part owner of the club. So all the guys from the projects would go up there and hang out. Get in free. We had to pay for our drinks. They would throw us a couple of drinks, but we didn't have to pay to get in. And so that was kind of our place on Saturday. So I stopped. I was like, I'm not going there. I'm just sit in my house and do what I want to do in my house. So it went from going out on Saturdays to staying in the house doing my thing. And then that just kind of dissipated the more I started reading. You couple that with reading, and then coming on Sundays, your life is getting better. You know, things are starting to happen. And so even in my journey of reading, I really was just searching after truth. Like Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. I was really searching out truth about why black people the way we are. And one thing led to another. And before I know it, I was here. And I started reading through that Bible I bought. I started the journey reading through that Bible in January. I'm riding the train every day for an hour to work and an hour back. And I got my head in this book. I started that journey in January. I finished, it was around October. I'm going to say the end of October. By the time I got from Genesis to Revelations. And by the time I got to Revelations, my life was changed. I wasn't like getting high and all that stuff no more. I had some journeys in between. I was still smoking cigarettes, was the last thing I kind of let go. But even that was like, we were doing weekend retreats. The church was doing stuff with the men, and I would go away for a weekend and be cigarette free, and then come back and get into an argument with Sheila, against an argument, almost a fight with somebody on the train, and I'm smoking a cigarette because I'm hot now, like I'm irritated. And then they had a men's breakfast here. They used to have men's breakfast. I came to men's breakfast, and I told them, I got up and confessed. You know, he was like, "What do you guys want? Something different?" They used to do it at the beginning of the year. And I got up and I was like, "Look, I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to play with God no more. I don't want to smoke cigarettes. I'm still smoking cigarettes, you know, and I'm you know." And then, you know, the pastor anointed my lips. He's like, "Come up here." He said, "Come here." We got the oil, anointed my lips. That was all she wrote. Next time I put a cigarette in my mouth, I got sick. You know, and then other instances, you know, started coming out on Wednesday night because, you know, I was trying to keep, again, the calm down from acting crazy. Started coming out on Wednesday night. I'm seeing pastor laying people out. He got oil on his hands. He's laying hands on people. I was like, that ain't real, man. That's not. I was like, man, that's not real, man. I hear about this church stuff.
No, I remember that.
So one Wednesday, I was like, let me go up here and see what this is about. God started revealing himself and manifesting, and like he laid his hands on me. My legs were wobbly, man. My legs fell from under me. I couldn't stand. I can't even explain it. For 2 days, my legs were sore. For 2 days, my legs were sore just from him laying his hands on me. And I was like, yo, that was real. Like, that was real. Like, you can't play with God. Like, God is real.
Yeah, man.
And I started having these experiences that just started drawing me closer and closer in, you know. And that's how I wound up getting back to the house.
So Lavelle, I'm just to wrap it out. I just want to give me some affirmations. Like give me who Lavelle is today and the things that you accomplished in life, being who you are today.
If I had to sum up myself of who I am,
Things that you accomplished in.
I think I'm drug free.
Amen.
Amen.
I'm saved.
Amen.
I'm a lover of God. I love God. I love His Word. I still struggle with my flesh side of getting angry and frustrated sometimes. That's why I try to stay real low key about stuff, because I know once I get turned on, I get to a place where I don't care. I don't like that side of me. Because when I don't care, I don't care. And I know that that's a dangerous place for me. Things in terms of accomplishments, I'm still married, man. That's one of the biggest things in my life.
Amen.
I know
Yeah,
God
man.
sent my wife in my life to keep me.
How many years?
35 years.
35 years.
Married.
Wow.
That's it.
You know, and I know God sent my wife into my life to kind of save my life. Because when I started seeking for knowledge in books, she was the one that gave me the book. When I could have been lonely, when she could have left me when I was out there wilding, she stayed. You know, and I don't mean that I don't have my challenges in the flesh and any of that stuff like anybody else. I still still fight with stuff, but I know it's not because I'm some sort of superhuman being. No, it's because by God's grace that I'm here. I don't try to attain like I've done this. I've done some things in my life. I try to be an example to what the Scripture says. One of the things I know that I did have a heart for is young men.
Do. Present tense.
Yeah, I do have a heart for young men. Yeah. I have a heart for young men because I remember when I was a young man, I'm always reflect back on how the older guys kept me stay out of the park.
Right.
Don't come in here, don't do that. We don't want you to see this. And, but they were still using you to do little, underhanded stuff. And I was like, man, these young cats, I always felt like these young cats just don't have nobody directing them. I've always had so once I started getting into the church, my door was always open to young men.
Yeah.
I was always like, now if I see a brother struggling, you can come stay with me.
Right.
I want to look out for you. I'm going to try to get you in the right direction because I've been there. I know what the other side of that is. So I've always had a heart for young men. Even my cousin, he just got an Emmy, right? And he was talking to me and telling me how I influenced his life. Or my cousin that passed away, he was the baby boy. And he was telling me he got in some trouble when I went and visited him when he was locked up and all kind of stuff. And he's like, nah, Lavelle, if you hadn't poured into my life, man, all my brothers were gone. Like you were there. We living on T-Bot Avenue. You was keeping me out of trouble. You was making sure I had some shoes. You was doing some stuff. And I was like, okay, I didn't see any of that, but, I appreciate it. And so I begin, just realize when I look back, like I always have a heart for young men because I was a young man.
That's right.
And I didn't really have... the crazy thing when my father died, going back to that, when my father died, his brothers kind of took me in and they were trying to take me around. I had one uncle that I feared as a God-fearing man because, we go to rehearsal, you're sitting there, a bunch of young guys, and we're watching them do their thing, and my uncle's going to be laughing and joking and talking about girls. But when that uncle walked in, he was the lead singer. When he walked in, everybody straightened up, and he would go into rehearsal like he's at a full-blown concert, man. I'm like sweating, singing the gospel in a rehearsal. Like, it's a full church. And I was like, yo, my uncle's deep, I remember one time I needed some money. I went to see him at his workplace. He worked at the car dealership. He's sitting down in the basement, and they showed me where he was. He's down there reading his Bible. So God had some things before me, like to see what the other side of it was. But I was still doing the street thing. When I look, like I said, hindsight is 20/20. You look back and you see some things. You be like, man, God, you've been kind of covering me through some stuff. When I was out there wilding, I see that. I've seen death. Participated in a lot of nonsense. Could have been dead and gone myself. Those guys that helped me move into my place, they got busted, man. It was on the news after that. I was like, yo, that's Chucky, and them dudes just help us move in. And I'm like, I know these guys. Right. Same thing. I go to Hunts Point now, see some of the guys that still see me. They still show me respect. They show love. Go back to my mom's projects. The guys see me. They still, hey, what's up, OG? They still show love and respect. They remember especially from my mom's projects. Those guys when they were so, but yeah, it was just different. Coming up, I'm glad to be saved. Always had a heart for young men. Always wanted to help the young men out. Always want to be there to support them. Right now, I'm trying to finish up. I will be graduating just with my degree.
Good stuff. Yes,
coming up
good.
in May. This May. I was in and out of school playing with that, but this is it, right? Hopefully by next summer I have my master's degree.
Let's do it.
And trying to finish up. God has elevated me in the house and brought me to a place where He's given me some titles and asked me to do some things in terms of servanthood. And I don't have any problems. Sometimes you may come around here Saturday and see me sweeping up the street outside. I do that. I don't think that's God's asking me too much because I've seen a lot. You know what I mean? And the fact that I'm still here, and I know a lot of people that's not here, there was nothing special about Lavelle.
Right.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? So the fact that God has saved my life and allowed me to see this many years and see some things and come through them, I'm grateful. Man.
Nice.
I appreciate you, Lavelle. I love you.
We love you, man.
I love you guys too, man.
God is good, and he's working in your life. I can see it. I'm pretty sure that we can all see it, and I'm happy for you, man.
Yeah,
I'm happy for you, yo.
Thank you, D. I'm glad to still be here. It's by God's grace, man. We only scratched the surface of some stuff. Time is on your limit.
Part two, we
But,